From the police to the National Football League, from corporate America to television and the music industries, mindfulness is going mainstream.
Mindfulness is a very, very powerful tool.
It changes people's lives.
It is a superpower.
It's like an oxygen line straight into the heart.
You will literally live younger and live longer.
Mindfulness has been around for thousands of years. But today, we are witnessing a mindfulness revolution, and it's exploding across the country.
I love seeing the athletes and cops and social workers and prisoners and politicians and journalists are doing this thing.
It's being used in education and business, healing and medicine.
The scientific evidence is piling up like never before, with study after study proving the positive effects of mindfulness training.
We wouldn't be here without the science.
Mindfulness carves out new pathways for relieving stress, anxiety, and depression, offers easy tools for managing pain, and is proving to enhance focus, productivity, and performance. These are just some of the reasons that mindfulness, right now, is going mainstream.
Explore new worlds and new ideas through programs like this. Made available for everyone through contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Mindfulness is popping up in some of the most unlikely places, from the British Parliament to the Marine Corps to the NBA and Congress.
I am not a utopian. I'm a journalist, so I've seen the worst of human nature. But I do believe that if you get a broad enough swath of people to do this, it has the potential to change the way we are as a society.
People more and more in this society are so distracted and so pulled away and so stressed that we are literally not only starving, but dying for authentic experience.
Allow your attention to alight on the breath sensations in your own body.
In study after study, scientific evidence is confirming the highly positive impact of mindfulness on both our physical and emotional health.
Not only has mindfulness been shown to help people with depression from relapsing into depressive episodes, help with stress, help with anxiety, but we're even finding that it can help people with addictive behaviors.
Thousands of studies have been published citing how meditation improves mental health, reduces stress and anxiety, enhances heart and lung functionality, and dramatically improves focus and performance.
And it's been around for thousands of years. And now it is a subject of scientific inquiry, so it's no longer so weird. And people in the business world, people like us, discover that it's a competitive advantage at work. And so that's why it is spreading.
It's also spreading because the world is getting more chaotic, and most of us are feeling the stress.
It's a superpower that's never pointed out to us, that we have this innate capacity to step out of the traffic, as it were, to see the contents of our own consciousness, to see our thoughts, urges, impulses, desires, with some non-judgmental remove.
And that means living in the present, according to Chade-Meng Tan, who was the Chief Happiness Officer at Google, charged with making Google employees more mindful and productive.
To worry, you need to be in the future. To regret, you need to be in the past. So to bring full attention to one breath, you are in the present. So for the duration of one breath, 10 seconds, you are free from worry and regret. That freedom from worry and regret.
Mindfulness is really a mental state, achieved by focusing one's attention in the present moment. The recent popularity of mindfulness in the West is largely considered to be the brainchild of Jon Kabat-Zinn.
It's the awareness that arises by paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally.
Mindfulness is about bringing that state of awareness into your everyday, moment-to-moment life.
While mindfulness is a state of mind, meditation is the daily practice that gets you focused, much like exercise is the vehicle that gets you into shape.
We need meditation scaffolding. We need handholds to get into a kind of the experience. The reason is because we are so habitually conditioned to be out of our minds and lost in thought or reactive or caught in our emotional turbulence that we lose touch with the being element. So we need to come back.
For Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Jewel, meditation is about learning to manage the constant chatter in your head, those recurring thoughts that lead to anxiety and stress.
With time, you're going to be able to sit still and just go, oh, that's interesting. I notice I'm really anxious. Oh, that's interesting. There I went off thinking about that. Let me just bring myself back to my breath. It's not trying to solve world problems when you meditate. It's just a willingness to take a brain break.
One of the shocking things that happen as people start to sit and meditate and quiet themselves is they notice it's not very quiet in there. It's almost like they're stuck in Motel 6 with the shopping channel or some reruns on, and 90% of the thought stream, pictures and words, is the same thoughts you had yesterday. They're on rerun. Meditation is not self-indulgent, navel-gazing. It's actually hard because you have to stop everything and come to terms with what's happening just now in your own body and mind.
The good news is meditation doesn't have to take a lot of time. You can start with one breath.
Do one breath a day. One breath a day for the rest of your life. That's all I ask for. If you take one breath a day, you'll find that you're already calmer, just a little bit calmer.
In the midst of the busyness of today's modern world, bombarded by information all day long, most of us want to find a way to remain calm, balanced, and effective. One of the areas where mindfulness can be most effective is in helping us manage anxiety, stress, and depression.
We have split our attention now. Parents are on their screens instead of attending to their children. We're at dinner on our screens instead of attending to one another.
We used to be regulated in some ways by the rhythms of the day. We're not regulated by that anymore. Movement and activity is trumping repose and ease.
Nobody's present anymore because as soon as you have a moment, you can distract yourself. You can check something. The technology is actually, in some sense, creating epidemic levels of self-distraction.
Mindfulness is really good for balancing your media consumption, because there's a way in which we dive so deeply into these Twitter holes or Facebook holes, or we can't stop watching the news. It's great to have a little bell that goes off. You're like, all right, I'm past the point of becoming an informed citizen. Now I'm just driving myself crazy. And meditation is a really useful tool for drawing the line between useful research and useless angst.
ABC News correspondent Dan Harris knows all about angst, stress, and anxiety. He suffered a very public anxiety attack live on Good Morning America.
A few seconds into my spiel, I was just overtaken by this massive bolt of fear.
We're going to go now to Dan Harris is at the news desk. Dan.
Health news now. One of the world's most commonly prescribed medications may be providing a big bonus. Researchers report people who take cholesterol-lowering drugs called statins for at least 5 years may also lower their risk for cancer. But it's too early to prescribe statins slowly for cancer production. I'd had little bursts of panic and stage fright on the air previously, but nothing as full-blown as this, where I really just could not function.
After that incident, Dan says he went through a bout of depression and even serious drug use. But eventually, he discovered mindfulness meditation.
Our default mode is we're unhappy and unsatisfied with what's happening right now, just leaning into the next thing, the next meal, the next latte, the next vacation, whatever. And when you see that in your own life, you can't unsee it. And that is the selling point for mindfulness.
Singer-songwriter Jewel has sold over 30 million albums worldwide. But as a young teenager suffering from tremendous anxiety, she hit rock bottom after leaving Homer, Alaska, and her abusive father.
We will fight. I I was in the dressing room of a store and I was trying to steal a dress and I was homeless. I had become a statistic. I didn't beat the odds. And I was so disappointed. I was absolutely paralyzed in my own life. It was like being buried alive.
But instead of giving up, Jewel fought her anxiety by teaching herself mindfulness meditation, first focusing on her hands.
Watching my hands was sort of one of the most formative mindfulness exercises I started with that forced me to pay attention in real time, and that created a gap. It forced me to be present.
Today, she credits mindfulness for her success.
Having a mindfulness practice is having the ability to have a constant willingness to peel back layers of the onion, because it never stops. Thank you.
Dr. Marie Hobart, an associate professor of psychiatry at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, says studies show that mindfulness can help significantly when it comes to anxiety.
Mindfulness really helps a person to sit with what they're feeling, to observe what they're feeling, to be able to have a little bit of space to say, is this really true? Or is this just a state that my mind is putting me into?
If you're feeling stressed, one of the ways that you can explore this is to stop. Slow down a little bit. You could also take a breath. When we breathe in, when we breathe out and exhale, we are downturning the nervous system just a tiny, tiny little bit. Focusing on the breath, that repetitive process can really slow people down enough for them to have more of their resources and their capabilities available to them in the next moment.
While most of us feel the stresses of daily life, police officers and first responders have among the most stressful jobs, sometimes faced with life and death situations. In a groundbreaking program run by Police Lieutenant Richard Gerling, some of the country's toughest police officers are learning mindful techniques to help them make better decisions. A recent study shows that focusing one's awareness and attention on the present significantly lessens stress and anger among police.
I came to this practice of mindfulness in policing to improve the health and well-being and the performance of police officers.
And continue now to really watch.
This evidence-based practice of mindfulness has a tremendous amount of potential to transform the lives of police officers and to transform the relationship between police agencies and their communities.
One weekend in April, Gerling invited police officers up to his retreat near Bend, Oregon, to do mindfulness exercises and talk candidly about trauma, pain, stress, and anxiety.
So this exercise we just did was about trying to recognize a couple different aspects of experience.
So my training strategy with meditation is to use the skills of meditation training to teach police officers awareness and compassion.
In law enforcement, you can become very callous, seeing the same people day in and day out, the same calls, the same violence. And I think it takes away a part of your humanity. I think mindfulness training gives you an opportunity to bring back some of your empathy, bring back some of your caring towards other people you interact with on the street.
At all times, remember to breathe, generally in and out through the nose, slow, deep breathing, and that mindfulness, inward focus.
Menlo Park, California Police Chief Bob Jonsen thinks mindfulness is helping his officers become better policemen.
It's going to make a police officer a better police officer because I think they're going to be better within themselves. It's a matter of developing self-compassion, and when they can feel compassionate for themselves, they're going to be more compassionate to the people that they serve.
Some of the police officers we spoke to were skeptical at first, but are now seeing the benefits.
We're seeing that in our own department is through better performance, a clearer mind, more focus, the ability to be resilient and bounce from call to call, and make better decisions.